We actually have that on vinyl right back there behind Colin and Les.
We sure do. We've got back there. We've got our CDs for sale, and we've got that record on vinyl. If you want to buy it on a record, a real honest to God piece of 12-inch vinyl instead of just little bitty dinky CDs, which sound great. CDs are awesome, but if you're into the vinyl thing, we've got it back there.
And we really need them all to go because I bought a new pair of boots, and I don't have room in my suitcase now to take the vinyl back to the States on Wednesday. So yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of NASCAR? Do you know what NASCAR is? Some of you have heard of NASCAR. I'll be damned. How about that?
Enthusiastic NASCAR.
Yeah, it's an enthusiastic, yeah.
Wow.
So for those of you who don't know what it is, it's this crazy thing in the States. It's stock car racing, and the idea is that you get the car directly off the factory lot. You know, it's not like a souped up car, but they're all souped up. You know, and you drive around. It's kind of like Formula One, really, a little bit. But instead of these really challenging and curvy left and right windy road courses, it's kind of more like you just go around a roundabout the wrong way for about 5 hours. It's just a circle, sort of, or an oval, you know, is really what it is. And it's a big thing in the States, you know, it's really popular.
Speaking of roundabouts, so this is our first time driving over here on the other side of the car and the other side of the road. And so
some of us are good at it.
Some of us are great at it. And so for the first 4 days I was punching the window trying to change the gears. But now I've got it. You change with this hand, and first is way over there. First is way over there. But you know how you guys have varying sizes of roundabouts over here? There are some roundabouts that are huge and have 16 exits off of them. And then there are these little tiny roundabouts in villages that I'm not even sure why they're there, because you don't really go around them. You just kind of go, they're throughabouts. But I've decided to rename these miniature roundabouts, and I think it's really going to take off. I think it's we're going to call them roundabits. And we think that you should take that on and start calling them roundabits over here.
I don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't know if they're in. I don't think they're in.
Well, you may not change the name, but I guarantee that the next time you come upon a roundabit, you're going to smile and think of me.
I don't think they're going to start calling. They're not. Anyway, but
it's cute.
It's cute. It's definitely cute.
Roundabit.
But so NASCAR, they're really large roundabouts, you know, and they just go around the wrong way and they race. And it's an older form of stock car racing. And the place where we live in East Nashville now, which we just dearly love. It's a great place to be. But before that, me and Talisha lived in a little town in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia called Martinsville, Virginia. And Martinsville has one of the oldest NASCAR tracks in the country. It's from the 1950s, which for us is it's ancient. I mean, it's a historical site. But anyway, it's been there for long. It's a small track. The drivers call it the paperclip because it's a really small track as well, and the drivers love it. You know, it's a really intimate place where there's a lot of paint trading that goes on during the race courses and everything. But it's been around for a long time, and it is sort of a historical track, to be honest. And there's this guy named Lee Petty, and Lee Petty back in the 50s, everybody thought Lee Petty was just going to be the best race car driver there ever was. He was just killing everybody, you know. And Lee Petty's son was starting to get into the sport of NASCAR in the late 50s, and he was doing okay, but he hadn't quite gotten to the level of his father, and they didn't know whether or not he would in the late 50s. And he had won one race, and people were starting to write articles in the newspapers about whether or not Richard Petty would ever amount to anything like his father had. He did. Richard Petty, things turned out okay for him. Not to give the story away, but so this song is about a particular day in the spring of 1960 when Richard Petty's kind of gunning for his second win, and which happened about 6 miles from our house. It's called Massey's Run. One they always talk about, the name that's always thrown around. He's the best that's ever held a steering wheel. With his Straw hat, feather cowboy crown. He's the king of going round and round. If you're out in front, he's nipping at your heels. And for all the races that he's won, all the tires he must have spun, it's no wonder folks still go on about it. But for 26 laps in the spring of 1960, he was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. Well, I held him off through every turn. My tires were bald, my brakes were burned. I took everything old 21 could give. He was coming up the inside fast. I knew he was gonna try to pass, so I got down low and I kept him there behind me. Till the final time around turn 4, he finally got me door to door, and that paper clip turned into a drag race. But 26 laps in the spring of 1960, he was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. Well, I drove it like a demon on that final death wish drag, and I know I almost had it, until we crossed that checkered flag. He was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. I crossed the line in second place today. Petty won his second race. Since then he's won 198 more. But I like to think I did pretty well. The racing titan gave him hell, but he probably don't think about me anymore. Sometimes at night I still dream, still hear those pistons scream, and I can still see that Petty blue. I'm crossing the line in the spring 1960. He's behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. Got 26 laps in the spring of 1960.